Hi, welcome to Distinti's World number 15. This is Saving the Republic. This audience is general. This is probably one of the most important videos on my website. This is a video you should share with everybody you can. In 1787, the American Constitutional Convention ended. Afterwards, a woman approached Ben Franklin and asked, "Well, Mr. Franklin, what kind of government have you given us?" And Ben Franklin said, "A republic, if you can keep it." And this is the operative thing here. If you can keep it. Meaning that republics are lost. In the movie Gladiator, it's kind of an alternative history of Rome, because Rome was once a republic, and it too lost its way and descended into corruption and tyranny. Gladiator is a fictional story where Maximus is tasked by the dying emperor to restore Rome to a republic. But in the movie, there's no explanation of why a republic is better, or why it's more important for you and me. And here's a clip from Gladiator to show you that part.
Here he is. Senator Gaius, Senator Falco. Beware of Gaius. He'll pour a honey potion in your ear, and you'll wake up one day and all you'll say is, "Republic, Republic, Republic."
Well, why not? Rome was founded as a republic.
Yes, and in a republic, the Senate has the power. Senator Gaius isn't influenced by that force.
Where do you stand, General? Emperor or Senate?
A soldier has the advantage of being able to look his enemy in the eye, Senator.
So what is a republic? Or more important, why isn't a republic important to you and me? And I'll show you that a republic is the only form of government that protects you and me. And let's see what other people think a republic is. Well, if we go to Google, Google states that it's a state in which supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives, and in which has an elected or nominated president rather than a monarch. Well, this is wrong. This is a definition of a representative form of government. And this definition only focuses on who has the power, does not consider how that power is applied. And there's no mention of the critical part of a republic, which is ruled by law, which other people still don't even understand what rule by law means. So let's look at Wikipedia. A republic is a form of government or country in which power resides in the elected individuals representing the citizen body, and government leaders exercise power according to the rule of law. And I will explain what that means in a moment. In modern times, the definition of republic is commonly limited to a government which includes monarch. Currently, 147 in the world, 206 use the word republic as part of their official names. And mind you, I would say the Republican Party uses the word republic in its name, but it has no idea what a republic is. So this is better. At least there's a consideration of how power is applied, because how power is applied is what's important to you and me. And let's see what rule of law means. Go back to Wiki. Rule of law implies that every citizen is subject to the law, including the lawmakers. In this sense, it stands in contrast to autocracy, collective leadership, dictatorship, or oligarchy, where the rulers are held above the law. Okay, we live in a country now where the legislative bodies feel they have the ability to make a law that applies differently to different people, including themselves. And that is why this country is being torn apart, because the political class can take bribes to give special exceptions to special groups that put money in their pockets. And, well, we'll get more into that. But we're no longer a republic. And you want to see, here's a clip from the Omega Glory Star Trek where Captain Kirk is re-explaining to a parallel development of Earth where the Americans, or the Yanks, finally figured out how to defeat the communists, but they've been in war for so long that they forgot what it was they were fighting for. And I think that's exactly what's happened to us. So here's Captain Kirk explaining to them what a republic is.
These words and the words that follow were not written only for the Yangs, but for the Khans as well.
Khans?
They must apply to everyone, or they mean nothing. Do you understand?
Do not fully understand.
Now you have to ask, well, how does a republic protect you? Well, forgive my clip art. I couldn't get clip art. This is a a pharaoh. These are supposed to be his henchmen or his soldiers. I know they're Roman soldiers, but I couldn't find any Egyptian soldiers on clip art. And this must be the peasant class. And I could find these look more like, Middle Earth peasants, for lack of a better word. So, but let's consider this go back to the time when the Pharaoh said, I must kill the firstborn of all of the Jews because I want to get rid of this threat known as Moses. Well, in a pharaonic country, he could do that. He has absolute power. He can make the rules any way he wants, apply to anybody he wants. And that's why this is a tyrannical form of government. Now, let's assume this is a pharaonic republic, where everybody from the pharaoh to the enforcers to every person on the street knows that they cannot make a law that distinguishes between what your class is, what your color is, what your religion is, what your race is. The laws must apply to everybody equally without exception. So now, if the pharaoh makes a decree, well, we're going to kill all the firstborn sons. Well, wait a minute. That includes his son, which is Ramses. That includes all of the enforcers' sons. You know what? These guys are going to say, screw you, take this guy and shove him in the Nile River and say, kiss off. Because if the laws have to apply to everybody equally, no one is going to make or enforce a law that's going to hurt them. And that's how the little people are protected. Because the people in charge have to abide by the same laws. Therefore, they cannot make a law that distinguishes class or wealth, so the laws have to apply to everybody equally without exception, or the laws mean nothing at all. And that's how a republic protects you, and it protects me. And there's a lot more examples on how it protects us. Those are coming up. Now let's talk about democracy. Everybody's fond of saying we're a democracy, and we're so proud. Yes, you say, no, we're not a democracy. Let's consider a democracy here. Democracy is ruled by a majority, and only the majority is protected. Because let's say these two people they're of class X, whether that's a religion, or whether it's a color, or whether it's their eye color, or maybe it's their beliefs in something. And the rest of the people are of class Y. And let's say the economic times come, bad times come. What happens in economic times? Well, people always try to find problems and blame it on other people. So in a democracy, these people can say, well, it must be those X people causing it. It couldn't be us. We're the majority. They're the ones standing in the way. And so what do? They're going to take these people of, X and put them in a concentration camp and murder them to get rid of the perceived problem. This is what's been happening since the beginning of time. It's nothing new to the 20th century. My friends, this is one of the reasons why I consider the human race to be absolutely retarded. Okay, and this kind of violence, where basically you've seen the thing of the snake eating its own tail, that symbol, that is the kind of violence, and that's why Ben Franklin said democracies are as short-lived as they are violent. And that's why we're not a democracy. Okay, we are not a democracy. We are not ruled by majority. But if this were a democratic republic, where the democratic body could make laws, but the laws have to apply everybody equally, well, that would protect class X. But it only works if everybody believes in it. Once people stop believing that that's the right way to do things, forget it. Your republic is gone. And that's why Benjamin Franklin said, if you can keep it. So everyone is protected when nobody is above the law. And the protections bestowed on the majority afford itself to the minority as well. But our republic can be saved. It's not going to be saved by a gladiator or a second coming or a savior or a Batman or a Superman. The republic will be saved when everybody knows what a true republic is and demands it. That's every police officer will not enforce a law that doesn't apply differently to different people, not enforce those kind of laws. Every juror says, no, I am not going to, basically does juror nullification on laws that are unjust and not apply to everybody. And every judge will throw things out to say this is an unjust law. And everyone has to be on the case and understand what a republic is. Okay, once everybody is there, okay, the republic will have power that it never had before, that no amount of laws can give it, once everybody believes in it. That's what it takes. Not a couple people championing and believing. It takes everybody to understand what a republic is and why it's important to them. That was the only way to restore a republic. And if you want more proof that the U.S. is a republic, Well, look at the expressions you've probably heard over your life. Everyone is equal in the eyes of the law. Nobody's above the law. Equal protection under the law. Justice is blind. Justice does not judge you based on your color, your religion. It just judges you based on your actions, which can be described. And guess what? The reason why the First Lady is called the First Lady is because the proper title of the President is First Citizen, meaning he's got to abide by the same laws we all do. And they have to apply to him first, before everybody else. That's the meaning of all that. And when I was a kid growing up, there was the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States and to the republic for which it stands. And I'm sure they wanted to get rid of it because of the word God. No, they wanted to get rid of it because that was one of the things that they were telling us were a republic, not a nation, not having to do with religion. Because even God runs the universe as a republic. Look at the Lord's Prayer. I mean, I'm not religious, but I find these things interesting, that encodified in religion is the idea of a republic. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Isn't that wonderful? That the people that believe in a higher being believe that he's going to run earth and heaven the same. And even the universe is run as a republic. Look, gravity works the same for everyone. You drop a cannonball on your head, it doesn't matter if you're black or white or Christian or Jew or atheist, it's going to hurt you just as much as everybody else, without exception. So in a true republic, it matters not who has the power or who makes the laws, as long as the laws apply to everyone equally without exception. And let's see some modern examples how the loss of this protection is really driving this country apart. In my home state of Connecticut, which is really fallen from grace, my former home state of Connecticut, the state had made gambling illegal, but the state runs a lottery. That really just gets my goat. And worse, a rich man who at the time was Donald Trump offered to open a casino in one of the crumbling cities called Bridgeport to make a special revenue deal with the state of Connecticut. And all the newspapers and everyone lauded it as a means of improving the area and bringing more jobs. But I'm like, wait a minute, hold on a minute. So we're saying that it's okay for a wealthy man with power and influence to secure for himself a monopoly by essentially bribing the government with revenues? Okay, when government believes it has the authority to assign special privilege to a few or one, then only the wealthy can get ahead. I mean, if I went down to the state house and said, oh, I want to open up a casino in Bridgeport, they'd look at me and laugh. Oh, but if you're Donald Trump, they're going to take you seriously because you know you're going to pad their wallets. And he makes no qualm about saying that's what he has to do to get stuff done. So in this case, only the rich can get richer and the poor get poorer. And I love how these governments say, oh, well, the division between rich and poor is terrible. What are we going to do? Oh, well, let's tax the rich. That doesn't work because the rich are just going to bribe the government to give them more loopholes so they can remain being rich and give more money to government. So in a true republic, if gambling were made legal for one, it must be made legal for all. And the ensuing competition would severely cut into the profits that a monopoly could make, thus it's pointless to bribe the state. In other words, if you can't get exclusive benefit, then bribing the government isn't going to help you. Because if you're going to pay the government to exercise yourself a loophole, but that loophole has to apply to everybody, you haven't derived an advantage against your competitors. So in a true republic, bribes and graft become useless. And here's a protection from hypocrisy. Congress imposes the Affordable Care Act on citizens but excludes itself. They've got a gold-plated access to health care that is the envy of the world. So if this were a true republic, then Congress would have to suffer under the same Affordable Care Act like everyone, and then maybe it might actually get fixed. Because if they have to suffer under it, they're going to hey, this is ridiculous, let's fix it. But they'd end up repealing the ACA tomorrow because it's too expensive to give gold-plated access to everyone. Okay, and another thing that happens, especially in my former home state of Connecticut, is when large companies with lots of jobs threaten to leave, politicians swoon in and make special deals and special exceptions and special tax breaks to make them stay. But odds are there's other smaller companies and citizens suffering from the same burden but do not have the same pull to be able to secure that kind of relief. And so again, the poor and the middle class get shafted and the rich become wealthier. In a true republic, the concessions that are offered to that large company would have to apply to everyone. And that might actually help more companies stay. The government should use the fact that large companies are leaving as a look at themselves and say, hey, maybe we're not as competitive as we could be. And let's fix the laws for everybody. Okay, and like lower taxes. Politicians don't like to pay taxes like anybody else. If the laws apply to equally everyone, then they can't raise taxes on you without having to pay more themselves. And also when wealthy people or corporations influence a legislature, for example, if they legislate a tax relief for themselves through lobbying, which is essentially bribery, those loopholes would have to apply to you and their competitors as well. And in a republic where the laws could not be bent for anyone, bribes would be pointless, which is my point I made earlier. So when justice is blind, politicians can't make laws that divide us by race, religion, sex, wealth, IQ, career, science, or anything. There'll be much fewer laws. Fewer laws means smaller government. Smaller government means lower taxes. Fewer taxes and law means more freedom. But beware. The people who have a lot to lose with the resurgence of a republic will try the following. Oh, don't fall for those stupid, tired, old ideas. Don't be stupid. We have to live in today's world. We'll be going backwards, and they'll try to associate the idea of a republic with bad things from the past, of course. And the concept of republic comes from the days when people believed that the earth was flat. Do you really want to return to that? This is all the arguments they're going to use to say, we shouldn't go back. And so what happened to the U.S.? Well, in the mid-20th century, the U.S. experimented with an idea that we call today social justice, where justice is no longer blind. Now we give special treatment for protected classes. Some people are now more equal than others. And tax codes are being made to equalize us and massage us into what the government's form of us ideal people are in order to, quote-unquote, leveling the playing field is all the jargon they use. In fact, and they're also banning words, tax you more if you make more, treat it differently if married or single, and all they've done to do is divide us. Special interest groups are now lobbying to increase their privilege and advantage over others. Atheists versus religious, gay versus straight, wealthy versus poor, men versus women, black versus white, yada, yada, yada. And the politicians are laughing all the way to the bank because every one of these lobby groups are putting money into their pockets to get advantage over the other groups. And that's, in my opinion, what's dividing this country. So to save the republic, justice must be rendered blind once again. But here's the catch. You have to make it on your own. No subsidies, no quotas, no special dispensation, no services. In other words, the government should not be offering you health care. It needs to be the impartial judge for when corporations go bad. If it's now both the giver of your services and the judge to those services, guess what? These laws are going to be made that you can't sue the government if they screw up. The government's going to protect itself with its own laws. This can only get worse from here. The government should not be giving you services. It needs to be the higher authority when those services, either from a corporation or a state, go bad. Now, there are exceptions. In other words, if lawmakers cannot make a law blind, then they must abandon it. If you can't make a law that applies to everyone equally, then that's not their jurisdiction to be making those laws. Also, there are certain but few things that cannot be applied to everyone equally. Okay, these can only be enacted by constitutional amendment, which requires much more than congressional approval. Okay, so there are certain exceptions where we, the people, would want something, only the government to do something, and that authority not to be with. Like, for example, printing money. I think we agree, but you could have a whole argument on who really does print the money in this country. So anyway, thank you very much. Don't feed the humans. They'll become dependent on you. This is a signpost for Earth. I'm sure that's why aliens stay away from us, because we must learn to make it on our own. Thank you very much.